Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome to 6 Yard Workshop, and today we're building my sweet bookshelf. Well, this sweet bookshelf.
So my fiance wanted a bookshelf, and I said sure, we could do that, but you have to help and you have to be in the video. So we started by going to the lumberyard and picking up what was affordable. We found some Douglas fir in 8-inch lengths at $1.50 a linear foot, which is a really good deal. It's got a very unique color to it as well, so we decided to go with that. It is rough cut, however, so we did need to mill everything ourselves. Milling your own wood gives you a bit of freedom on a few things. One, you can control the final size of the board to make it the perfect dimensions you want. And two, with lumber being so high priced right now, being able to do this can definitely save you a ton of money. So we planed every board on both sides, and that gave us about 7/8 of an inch thickness. We ran one side through the joiner, then we ran it through the table saw, making both sides parallel. After that, every board got sanded, starting with 80 grit, working up to 220 grit. And once all that was done, all the boards were brought into the cut station, and we started the build. I used some 2x4s that were ripped in half from an old demo, and nailed 2 of them down to the ground, and 2 of them into the left wall. These are going to act as spacers so we can put some nice framework around the bookshelf. Then I cut the first board. I measured the left side from floor to ceiling, cut the board, and made sure to leave a small cutout where the baseboard would go. Next was the board for the bottom shelf, and it needed to be ripped to 7 inches wide to accommodate for the baseboard as well. I also ripped a 1.5 inch strip to cover the 2x2s the shelf was lying on top of. I figured it would be easier to finish the boards during the installation as opposed to before or once the installation was complete, as it is a lot of surface area. I'm using 1 3/4 inch 16 gauge trim nails to hold everything in place, and to hold the shelves in place at the ends I'm using pocket screws. And I'm doing this because what's going to support the weight of all the books is actually wooden dividers, not the fasteners themselves. This might sound a little crazy, but you'll see at the end of the video that this shelf can hold over 600 pounds of books. All the dividers were cut to the same length at the same time on the table saw. This ensures all 4 bottom shelves will be spaced out 11 inches apart. Once the end piece went on, we could see the SketchUp design we created 6 months ago finally coming together. We started the following morning by attaching the other end of the bookshelf above the chair to the wall. Now I used a stud finder to find studs. I first tacked it into the drywall with my finish nailers, and I used a couple lag screws to drill into those, making sure it was nice and secure. I used a heavy-duty L bracket to help support the load of the bookshelf over the chair, then cut and screwed in a piece of wood, extending the first shelf the whole length of the wall. From there, it was pretty much the same process as before, just using longer shelves and 10-inch spacers instead of 11. Since these boards were longer and had a bit of a tendency to flex, I used the spacers to screw the shelves in first at the ends. Then, once all the shelves were up, I put the spacers in after to straighten the shelves out. And you might notice we have a 5-inch gap from the top shelf to the ceiling. That's to accommodate for the face frame and the crown molding. One of the problems we encountered that I knew was coming is that there's not going to be anything to support these shelves here structurally. There's one stud right here, which I've marked out, but other than that, there's nothing really. So I purchased these metal brackets for 50 cents each, and they're going to get screwed onto the bottom here, and that's going to support the shelf on this side, and then I'll have one of those L brackets right here supporting the shelf over here, and hopefully Tika doesn't climb on it.
Not very good at climbing, so we're good.
So I first attached the brackets to the bottom of the existing shelf. Then I held up the shelf extension, leveled it, and scribed a line where the bottom was onto the wall. I could then remove it and pre-drill the hole for my bracket, then use a lag screw to screw it in. Then finally, attach the shelf to the secured brackets, and slap on a coat of Danish oil. The next 4 shelves were all the same thing. I also made sure to pre-drill all the pocket holes before mounting the shelf onto the brackets. Once all the shelves are up, I mounted on the end piece. And here's a pro tip for you. Make sure you remove your level before you do that.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, wait. Okay, what happened? No.
I left my level there, so it would be level. And it's forever stuck in the bookshelf now. You okay with it? I'll just go buy a new one. That way people know that it's level. I cut the side trim boards to a 3-inch width, and I cut the top trim boards to a 5-inch width. My fiance gave all the trim boards and the crown molding their first coat of paint before they went up. Nailing in the trim boards was pretty much the same thing. Super easy. I used my 16 gauge nailer with 2-inch nails. Since the ceiling isn't level but the shelves are, the trick here is to make sure the bottom of the trim board is level. The gaps that you see at the top are going to be hidden with crown molding and caulking. The best tip I can give you about crown molding is to go watch someone else's video on how to install crown molding. Honestly though, that's actually what I ended up doing. And I am not a professional, and we bought twice as much as we needed and used almost all of it because it took forever to figure out how to make the right cuts. There's lots of great videos out there, just search it and you'll find it. I used caulking in all the gaps of the trim pieces as well as all the gaps in the crown molding. I also used it to cover up every single nail hole. Best tip I can give you here is get a solid consistent bead and then use your finger to run it along the edge, smoothing it out and making it look uniform. Patience is key here. The next day the trim and the crown got 3 more coats of white paint, and then the bookworm could get her book on. I think this is my favorite project on this channel so far. I learned a ton and I hope you guys did too, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below. They all go right to my phone and I answer pretty much instantly. If you like what you saw, feel free to give a thumbs up and subscribe, and tune in next time because very soon I'm making a king-size timber frame bed. Thanks for watching. Okay, have fun. That's not how fun I was meaning.
Ash, you can't come help me in here. I have to organize my piles because my piles aren't organized. My piles are like organized in the house, but my piles have to be organized. So I have to organize my piles.
Sure do.
Like, those are the big books.